Welcome to AEC Stories. This is former SM3 Dempsey of the USS Mount Hood. And we are back, ready to start out a new year. I may just release this for New Year's or the day after or so, with former BM1 Ziemer, also known as Senior Chief Ziemer, and the man who's got the greatest recollection of all of the great history that happened on the Mount Hood. Better than I do, better than his own shipmates. And you've been referenced in my podcast, at least 15 other podcasts. I said, by the way, Ziemer said. And so here we are again, my friend.
well, thank you. I think most of the recollection comes from hearing bits and pieces of other people's stories. I'm like, yeah, I remember that, but I remember it a bit differently, or just, yeah, that's what spot on. That's what they say. Glad to be back. I went back and listened to my podcast I did and realized I sounded like a recovering coke or current cokehead. I don't know, with all the sniffling. I just want everybody to know that it's the Naples air out here. That's what it is. It's nothing more than that, and I'll just stick to that story. Anyway, thanks. How you guys doing?
Hey, you like the snow? Yeah, okay. No, fucking Italy. I mean, you have not really gotten away from the Navy yet. What's been your longest time away from it between getting out and now you're basically around the Navy working with it as a civilian, but longest time away from the Navy in like 25, 30 years.
So I signed up when I was 16, went in just after I turned 17, was out for about 15 months when I was 21, 22. And then I was away from the Navy for almost 3 years, 2005, fall of 2000, I guess 2.5 years, September 2005 to May of 2008, but they kept paying me the whole time with my retirement checks. I guess I wasn't really separated then even.
Wow.
But yeah, and then just right back at it. Good stuff.
So
good stuff. A little bit
did
different.
You just like get a little bit of civilian world and you're like, I can do this, but where's the ocean already? Or what was it?
Always liked the ocean. Did a couple cruises after I retired. Like the ocean. Don't really like being on it a whole lot, but I like being near it. It's good. Mm-hmm. Then
I'm the same.
Then, buddy, retired master chief friend of mine called, and like I said before, hey, you got these jobs up here. You want to drive boats? Sure. And I ended up coming on as a deckhand, which was even more fun. And I thought this would be my whole life. I'll just sit up here and be a WG8 wage grade employee, come to work, put on my life jacket, go do my job, go home, take care of my boat. And then, one thing leads to another, and then you're in charge of the boats, and then you're in charge of the maintenance shop, and then you're in charge of the port, and then you move on to a different job.
Yeah, you were trying to hide your skill set. Like, I can do everything, but I just want to be known for my average boating skills, even though they're superior. I just don't want to get promoted because I'm going to lose the job that I love, right?
Well, it's just,
I can see that.
You go and you think, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to work. I'm just going to be just do what I get paid to do. And it'll be an easy life. And then you see, well, we could do this better. We could do that better. And you start influencing things. And pretty soon, you're in charge. It's kind of like,
like the Navy.
Kind of like Bosun Johnson going out to the MSC, yeah, you're going to go out as a rig captain, maybe be a bosun or a safety officer. And then, all of a sudden you're a cargo mate and you're doing all the paperwork and all the admin and everything. And yeah, you get to make more of the decisions, but boy, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. You're everything. I mean, you're the yeoman, you're the ship store, you're the supply guy, and your other job. And your 5 other jobs, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, that's how they make the money, though. Do all the side jobs.
Had you thought about MSC?
I was actually I had got my TWIC and was doing my paperwork and getting my documents together when I went back to the port operations job in 2008. I was looking at MSC. And then when I was at my last job, until I got this one over here in Europe, I was looking at MSC. I was going to jump and go over there just because I think I like the schedule better. 4 months on and then a little time off, then 4 months on, or stay for 8 months, or, you get hubbed out of Singapore or, someplace you like, Sasebo or something, and you just stay on the ship for a year. It's just, I kind of like that, the change of pace, that you change jobs a lot.
Yeah.
I'm getting antsy here. I've been at this position for a little over 3 years, and I'm looking at USA Jobs, trying to figure out. My wife says, "No, we're not leaving Italy until we have to." But You know, it is nice over here. But
you know what? Don't do it. Don't do it. Take some tours around Italy. I did. I lived there. Hey, man, I lived there since I was like 5 years old till I was 19. Okay, I got a lot of time in Italy, and I'll tell you, once you leave, you ain't ever. We're gonna come back when you're 70. Hang out. No, you're not. You ain't. No.
A lot of people think that. A lot of people, oh, well, you don't like the job, and we're like, no, none of it's ever been about the job. It's just been about us. You know, after this lifestyle of you know, you come in, you learn it for a few months, you do it for a couple of years, then you turn it over to somebody else. Hopefully better than you got it, or at least you haven't done too much damage to the place. And you move on. And that's just kind of how our lives have been for 25 or 30 plus years, 35 years. Just kind of get used to it, you know.
Well, has your current wife, has she moved with you a lot, or are you guys are newly married and she's just getting exposed to the Rolling Stone lifestyle?
Washington to Oregon back to Washington, and then over here. So we've moved a little, you know, we've lived in 4 or 5 places, you know, nothing too crazy. In 10 years, I guess 4 or 5 places is quite a bit.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy to anybody who hasn't been 14 miles out of their own little town in Ohio.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She had traveled before. She was over here in Europe after the Homeland Wars, you know, going through Bosnia and stuff. She's, you know, don't walk over there. There might be landmines. Oh, okay, I'll stay on the side of the street. I mean, she's been over here a bit. She knows her way around the world.
That's good.
And then, you know, we've moved once since we've been here. Even we were up in a villa on a hill, and now we're down in the middle of town. You know, we changed direction. Even being over here after a couple of years, we decided to do something different. But it's all changing. All changing.
You've got the opportunity to live like you're in a movie. I mean, you're living the real Italian romantic lifestyle. It's beautiful. I don't mean romantic like making out all the time. I mean romantic as in romantic. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I live there. I mean, I would, you know, I can be here in a very expensive area like Los Gatos or something, and I'll hear some rich people pop off about, oh, and then we went to Venezia and we tried the funghi. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. So you ate some mushrooms in Venice? Yeah, I used to go there like, you know, 40 times a year. Big deal. It's like, it resonated with me like, yeah, I went to 7-Eleven in Nebraska. Cool. Good for you. You know?
You got this new store. It's called 7-Eleven. Yeah. A new sandwich shop. It's called Burger King. Yeah. No, it is nice. I mean, like, you know, yesterday I get home from work and we decide we're going to go down here and buy the local wine shop out of a bunch of wine. And, you know, you go down and you're buying wine for, you know, some, you know, €1 a bottle or €2 a bottle, and some is, you know, 25. And then you come back and you have those little wine apps and you Google it and you find out, well, this wine we just got for €12 is, you know, sells in California for, you know, $45. Oh, okay. That's nice. We got it for $12. Not bad.
Yeah, you're getting that stuff at cost, man. I used to get wine when I was a kid for 30 cents a bottle.
And before I came over here, I didn't enjoy wine at all. But it's just different here. I think it doesn't have all the sulfites or something that you have in the States in it. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do to wine in the States for either requirement or just, you know, to preserve it or something. I don't know. But you don't have that over here. Very little headaches. It's just really good stuff.
Yeah, it's really tasty. It's well made. I mean, Italian wine has been the standard for years. I mean, California's gotten competitive, but you know, it's the home of origin. It's where it all started in Italy and France. And their food. I mean, you're living a foodie gourmet lifestyle, just shopping at the grocery store.
Yeah,
you know,
when we get to finish with that and bring it home, you know, which it's probably a 2-minute walk to the wine shop. We come back home and then we decide, well, we're hungry. Let's go find some food. So we go down on the sidewalk and we start walking the other direction. We're like, well, you just want to go to Mario's right below our house? Yeah, we'll just go back to our house and there's a restaurant right down there. You know, have nice little, you know, spaghetti with, you know, vongole, you know, just a bunch of, clams and stuff. It's awesome stuff. You know, have another bottle of wine and, you know, we're out the door for $20. Both of us had a big meal and take a walk through the forest. Just, you can't beat this life. It's great. But anyway, that's
like a $65 meal for $20.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, stateside. I mean, what do you miss anything about the States? I mean, Anything?
Yeah, the States it's hard over here. It's nothing is easy. Not just the water's hard, but everything. They may have invented plumbing, but they didn't refine it. Just stuff like our dishwasher drain is not set at a low enough level, so it pools water in the bottom of the dishwasher. So we just don't use it. You don't, which we don't. We have one, and most people don't. Your washers and dryers don't work very well. Your house might just all of a sudden get a leak, has a leak for a year, and all of a sudden it gets a leak, and it's just, well, who do you call? How do you make it happen? You call the landlord, and then he's got a schedule. You get a flat tire. I got to go to a tire shop and try to communicate with this guy. And how is he, how's this going to work? So it's just, nothing is easy over here. Your internet goes down. Okay. And it's always at a great time, like when you're getting ready to have a party, and that was going to be the entertainment or the music or whatever video, it's going to be off the internet. And all of a sudden it's down, and it just happens. And they're never really, really in a hurry to get to fixing it. Luckily, I have a really good landlord. He takes a lot of pride in his place, and he wants everything to be spot on all the time. So if I tell him something, usually he's right on it. But most of them, you're in the place, you're paying, 3 times what an Italian would pay, and they just really don't care. And I don't think it's that they don't care. I just think that it wouldn't be that important if it was in their house. So why should it be important in yours?
It's kind of like living in Hawaii. There's that Hawaiian time, like half a day. I'll be over to your barbecue. Show up 6 hours later.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little bit of that. Yeah. Oh yeah. The time thing is crazy. We'll be there tomorrow. What time? Yeah, tomorrow. Okay. And you might have a repairman show up at 9:30 at night, because to him it's just, he's still working. He's still up. Why aren't you?
So back to the Mount Hood. I mean, you've listened to your podcast. You've listened to other people's podcasts. What did any of those spark in your memories, like Bosun Johnson's or even Terry Krause wearing your Boone Dockers to quarters when the guy that was cleaning up the room, cleaning up the berthing said, "Here, try these on," because someone stole his Boone Dockers and it was his first day on the ship. That just had me laughing.
I liked Ray Lopez talking about getting hit on his first trip through San Francisco. That was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you in the jean jacket and the tight jeans, the boots, come over here. Woohoo.
That's the funniest thing. You might have been a badass if you wore tight jeans in another state like Kentucky or Tennessee. Yeah. But, maybe Texas. And once you get to San Francisco, tight jeans is
it's a calling card. Yeah.
It's a calling card. You're cruising. He was cruising and he didn't even know it.
You're dressing like one of the village people in this neighborhood. It's on.
You should have just called me. I would have got my whites and my signal flags, and we would have had part of the village people. Yeah. Maybe get somebody with a hard hat, and we could just roll down the street and get free drinks.
No, it's nice here in people's recollections. It's nice here, and most folks talk about the. You remember mostly the good stuff. Some guys remember some horror stories, but about behavior or treatment or something. But for the most part, you remember the good things in your life. You remember the fun you had. You remember the ports you hit. You remember the times you were successful. And it's nice hearing about that. And we just had a lot of successful people there. A lot that went on to, maybe the Navy wasn't for them, and they did 2 or 3 years and got out and became successful someplace else. And that's good. And it was a good place for a lot of people to mature, a lot of people to figure out, maybe what they didn't want to do in life, what they did want to do. People maybe that didn't come from a working background, got to know what it was like to do, labor, hard work, skilled work. A lot of people think it's not, but most of the work that we do is skilled. And even if you are just, your job is, standing watching the signal bridge, you learn a lot of admin stuff. You learn a lot of detail stuff. You learn a lot of, discipline. You have to stay here. You have to do this. It's 4 hours. You feel like crap. You're puking in a trash can, but you know what? It's your watch. You just have to do it. There's no calling in sick and stuff like that. And I like hearing about that, and then the guys that, the Richie Rich Williamses and the Cedillos and all these guys that went on and, became, LDOs and warrant officers and things. And, Michelle Howard, going to be a 4-star. People having having careers past the Mount Hood. Watching the post, it seems like Sip and Harris are joined at the hip, literally.
Oh, they are. Those guys are. It was you can be kind of envious of that. I mean, they've been there through every good thing, every good time and bad time together for 30 years or more. And
then some people, maybe got out. What you could get kicked out of the Navy for is probably not a criminal offense, for the most part. You're not having felonies following you around. It just, administratively they say, you've been up here to see me several times. Maybe this isn't for you. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person. Doesn't mean they didn't have a fruitful life. Not everybody advanced. That's okay.
That's true. I mean, if that's your indicator for everything, a 4-year stint on the Mount Hood is either, I mean, if you're finding success like you did and a lot of other guys did, and you get some good benchmarks and you get to see some performance and you get to see some victories, then it's a lot to be proud of. And I could see why that was a career changer. That was setting you up to become a senior chief later on and give you all that experience. So, management and direction and hands-on. I mean, you did a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it kind of makes you pull your hair out now, though, seeing what we were able to achieve then and how we operated and how we did things now, and to see how things, things they've kind of modified just a little bit.
Right.
Things that were just normal behavior for us. You show up for quarters in the morning and everybody's in the same uniform. I mean, the same as in if one person had short sleeve shirts on, everybody had, especially for inspection. Everybody, if one guy had a jacket on, everybody had a jacket on. These are just the way things were. And now, buddy or my coworker and I were watching colors the other day, and they're raising 2 flags, the Italian flag, or 3 flags, Italian flag and the Navy flag, and another one. And these people are in 4 different uniforms hoisting colors in the morning. And I'm just thinking,
oh, wow.
How does that even happen? One has a jacket,
pageantry.
One has a blue camouflage uniform on. One has a green one on. One has they call them peanut butters, like a khaki shirt, black pants. And it's just, are you kidding me? This would never, ever, ever fly. And it just drives me nuts sometimes. But it's not my deal. Not my circus.
Well, I think that we probably had a better grasp on discipline back in our era. That's what I think the difference is.
I think that we had control. I think we had expectations. I think that we set a high standard. I'm not saying that standards aren't high now, but they're just different. They're a lot less intrusive, I guess. Everybody's like, oh, well, that's okay. Everybody thinks that, a little bit of slack here is okay. A little bit of slack there is okay. And by the time you get to the, it's like that, telephone, whatever, you tell somebody one thing, and by the time it gets to the end, it's what are you saying? It's just, you get slack. And then by the time the end result comes out, there's a lot of nonconformist, why can't I do this? My last chief let me do this. My last chief let me, it's just things drive me nuts. Like, they can wear backpacks and uniforms now, which we had backpacks. No, we didn't even have them. We had, like, have your civilian one, but now it's become part of the uniform. And does it make sense? Yes, it makes sense, I guess, but they're not all uniform. But, it just has to be a certain color and just things like that. And it just drives you nuts.
So there isn't, it's too, well, I mean, let's call it as it is. I'm not being a bully or nothing here, but it's kind of like the liberal agenda has invaded the Navy. It really is. It's not, I'm not picking on people's sexual preferences. I'm just saying, like, the Navy has to go hard no matter what it is. If you're going to be gay and be in the Navy, go at it the hard way everybody else is. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're going to have a standard, but the more they make things flexible, the more they get away from letting what the Navy wants to do and more about what the people in it want to do. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's, and a lot of it is, I mean, they're really, really smart folks, really smart young kids. They all, everybody, they know different things than we know, but, than I knew when I was at that age, but they seem much more intelligent, technologically and otherwise. exposed to a lot more stuff than, I was, a little farm boy in Oregon. But they come in and I don't know if it's trying to pacify them, to placate them so they will, stay in so that they'll get good reviews. I don't know what it is, but, and then you have a guy come in like the new Reg come we have now, and he was my XO when I was a senior chief, and I was his command senior chief. And he's an old school guy. And it's very difficult for guys like that are the old school folks that come in and say, why isn't it this way? And then, he was having difficulty with his watchstanders. And instead of going to the chain of command for watchstanders, he went to he called us the graybeards. He called the graybeards in and said, how do I fix this? What do I do? And it has nothing to do with me or my job or any other guys that, the retired master chiefs in the room or whoever else was there. It has nothing to do with us. But he says, how did we fix this? How did we, and then so we had to take these lieutenants and stuff and break them off from the pack and say, this is what expectations are. This is how you get there. This is, you have to know more about this job than the guy that you're instructing. You have to know, when you're on watch, you're the expert, in this field. And when you go out to do a training, I think that's a lot of his expertise. When we were unrepping, we knew the NWPs inside and out. And like, I think I talked about it before, competition wise, we inspected each other's rigs to find flaws in the other rigs, which made us better. And it gave bragging rights to somebody that found something that you maybe missed or on your rig.
Yeah.
And, so that happened. And then it would, but it made sure that you sent a quality product to the receiving ship. And you knew what was going on, and it kept you in the book. And, it got all the way down to being able to quote pages and chapters and verses and paragraphs. And, the cotter pen will be, 3/4 of an inch, blah, blah, blah. Just ridiculous, minute stuff. But we became experts in what we were doing. And on the Mount Hood, there was enough competition, enough sharp people that everybody wanted to be the best. And everybody wanted to be the best boat handler. And everybody wanted to be the best splicer. And everybody wanted to be able to, be the best lookout, spot the contacts farther away than the other guy, be able to have communication and help the watchstanders. And we were just very, very professional. And now it seems like a lot of times it's just, let's just do enough to get the job done. And so you have people going out on inspection teams or audit teams, and maybe they're not experts in what they do. And the problem with that is that sometimes, the book isn't always the exact measure. Sometimes the book's a little bit off. So now you have to be an expert and have experience. You have to be an expert technically and administratively. You have to know exactly what the book says, but then you also have to have a little bit of realism when you go out there and say, yeah, I get why, the book says this, but that can't be built that way because this is the way the building is or the pier is or the ship is. And so you have to have a little bit of expertise and be able to support that other than just saying, well, you're wrong or you're right, and they just lose a lot of that. And I don't know if it's a generational thing. I mean,
well, we're at a different place. I mean, think about this: the Mount Hood, all of CIC and everything, all combined, right? The radio room and all that. The computational power of our ship was less than an iPhone right now.
Oh yes.
So we were the computer. We were the electronics. That's what it was. It was know-how. And today there's more. It's more high tech, and these high tech kids know more about the world than we did because they got Google. They know things factually in a millisecond by requesting it. So they've grown up having access to the global brain. You know what I mean? It changes you.
And and we never trusted any single source when we were sailing. You didn't, navigationally, you didn't trust it. I mean, when you got inside of land, you took bearings and all you're doing is checking your track to make sure you knew where you were 15 seconds ago and that you were correct, and you always were comparing something to something else. You'd, setting course and bearings and target angles and tracks for other vessels and things. You always did it by, several people were doing it on what I call them O-scope, on the radar repeaters. And then you were also doing it visually. And, and then you're also communicating with that ship to find out who they were. You just didn't, look at one source and say, okay, well, the computer says that, the radar says that we're okay. All right. Well, we don't do that anymore. I don't know if they do that now. I don't know how many sources they use now on ships, but I know that we always had a human verifying what the machine said and vice versa.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, let's think of it in terms of automation. Let's say that you have self-driving cars, but you get crazy human drivers. You're going to have a wreck.
Yes.
That's kind of inevitable, right? They're going to run into the self-driving car. Self-driving car can't stop that car from hurtling down the road at 120. It just can't. Yeah?
Well, and the self-driving car can't look in that window and see that person is not paying attention, and so it can react sooner than a person could.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to react at its standard movement, but speed and, something that's not in the algorithm. And that's the same with standing watch. I mean, I hear that ships have cameras instead of port and starboard. That's what I heard. I don't know that, but
I don't know. I don't think so, because I think that maritime law says you have to have a physical person. But,
well,
I'm sure
there was, the investigation came down to being not enough sleep and all this other stuff. And I see these other things. Morale is down. And I'm like, shit, when was morale ever up? We were just there to work.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that
I wasn't depressed. I was just like doing my job, and it was better than working at a tire factory. That's all.
Well, you were covering from the last port, and, looking at the ship we were on, other than the first cruise I was on, we did a lot of underway time. After that, we were in port for an awful lot of times. Maybe during desert, we were underway for quite a bit, but then, we hit a bunch of ports on the way over and hit a bunch on the way back. No, and, you get tired, yeah, but I think that a lot of these folks now have just too much, they have 24/7 access to media and to programs.
They can call home
and
7 days a week.
And, for us at, 2200, the lights went off, the movie went out. And, if you were going to be up, it was going to be, one or two guys playing cards or something somewhere, smoking a coke, getting in the bosun locker. You weren't going to be, up, energizing your brain with electronic media and things like that. That just wasn't us. And I think that we were, I guess, much more mature about taking responsibility for yourself and preparing yourself. And I think that that's a lot of what, I don't know if I should say I think it, but, it's a possibility that, a lot of folks just don't take responsibility for themselves. It used to be, if you got in trouble, it's you got in trouble. Now it's, if you got in trouble, well, did you go buy that guy's racket, at 6:15 and make sure he was up in time to get up for quarters? Well, no, he's an adult. I didn't feel I had to. But now that's the question. Did you, are you sure he knew where the galley was? He almost starved to death. Well, if he can't figure it out for himself, what's the problem? And so, early in my career, you had to really get in trouble to go to mast. And then middle of the career, you didn't have to get in as much trouble to go to mast. But if you did go to mast, most of the skippers would say, you've been in trouble. If you got to see me, that means that everybody in your chain of command from, A to Z has tried to help you, get better.
Yeah.
They've probably given you EMI. They probably counseled you. They probably told you where you've done wrong. They probably, had, health and comfort inspection on you. They've probably done things to try to motivate you. And you're in front of me, so therefore I'm going to hammer you. And then, later in my career, it's, well, you're at mast. Well, and then they look at the chain of command. Did we set this guy up for success? Did we make sure he was hanging out with the right people? Did we make sure he had a good Liberty buddy? Did we make sure that, he had, two sheets and a pillowcase? Well, come on. He's an adult. They don't, just whatever. Now, whatever the case may be, did you make sure that he had all the pen and pencil when he went to training so that he could take notes? Things like that. It's just, did you go with him to get DC qualified so that he would make the the qualification within the required time on board. So it goes back on the chain of command. So now what does the chain of command do? Now the chain of command says, well, I don't want to even bother putting this guy on report, because then if I put him on report, I'm the one that's going to have to be up there answering all these damn questions. So why would I even do that? And then it just kind of these standard slides. The standard slides.
Interesting.
The CEO's happy. Nobody's coming to mass. Oh, everybody's good. No, it's just we have a bunch of substandard performers that don't want to deal with you. Because and it's probably a couple seminars at the War College or something that said, okay, we're changing our philosophy, which we do often. You have to change with the times. I get that. People are different.
Yeah.
In Vietnam era, you had a bunch of people that were in the Navy that were avoiding the draft. So, they kind of wanted to be there, but they still didn't want to be in the military. Post-Vietnam, you're trying to keep people in. You're trying to build the 600-ship Navy, and you're trying to keep as many people as you can to fill these billets. And then, the 90s come and you go the other way, and now we're getting rid of ships and we're combining bases and we're going down the other road. And so now we're getting rid of good people, trying to figure out how to get rid of them. And then now the standard's back, it's pendulum's shifting again where, maybe being overweight doesn't get you discharged. Maybe a DUI doesn't get you discharged, where 5 years ago, if you were overweight or had a alcohol offense or something, you're probably gone. And now it's kind of shifting the other way where, all of a sudden we're trying to keep people again. Make up your damn mind. What kind of sailor do you want? Sorry.
When I was coming in, no, it's okay. No, you gave me some good talking points, but, when I was coming in, I think a lot of guys were coming in like, go to jail or join the military. So that was like a different kind of draft, like, the half a juvie guy, the half a potential felon, but instead we'll put him in the military because he has enough evidence that he played good in football and did okay in school, but he get caught in the neighbor's lawn laying out naked after a kegger party. So let's make him join the Navy.
Yeah. I don't think it was. I don't think we're going to make you join the Navy, but I think that. Well, I know I was standing in the courtroom one time. I think I was 16, and the guy says, "What do you think you're going to do?" I said, "I'm thinking about joining the Navy." He goes, "That'd be a really good idea." And then he said, "I'm just going to go ahead and sit on this for a while and see how things come out." And I was thinking about it anyway. But and there were other reasons. Like I said, my buddy that couldn't go, another buddy that did. But there were a lot of little minor factors. And I mean, I don't think I would. It wasn't felony offense or anything. It was probably some stupid kid thing. Minor possession of alcohol or something. But the guy's going to say, "I'll just go ahead and just sit on this until we see how that goes." And then you never heard about it again. He never heard about it again. And as long as you never saw him again, you were good. And so there's a lot of stuff like that where people say, they made me go in the Navy because, well, no, but it was probably a good place for you to get away to.
I joined the Navy as my last choice. I mean, and it ended up being the best choice.
Yeah. Yes. It's a way out, and there's not a big electronic file back then following you around.
Well, it's true. I mean, you become ghost. You just disappear in the world. You get away from all your problems. You hop on a ship. You go thousands of miles away at sea, and you're on an island somewhere. Nobody knows where the hell you are. You certainly don't have a Skype cell phone. Like today, people are like Skyping, talking to their babies. "Hey, baby, it's daddy." I saw that, like a Skype screen. I'm like, at sea, really? I'm used to not talking to him for 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
I kind of like that cowboy way, that sailor way, that seafaring way,
Yeah, you just go do what you do. You go do the hard job, you come home and reap the benefits of it. Yeah. No, and I think sometimes too much could be a bad thing.
Yeah, I imagine, some of the ports we pulled into and somebody had a cell phone with a tracker who's calling them every 5 minutes and wants to check in on Skype.
Yeah, no, and definitely don't have the video on. Don't see what people are doing.
What are you doing here? Oh, we're just playing Parcheesi.
Christian Service Center. That's where we always come.
We're at the Christian Youth Center. We're playing Twister. I just think that was the era. I mean, I don't think anybody did anything so horrifically bad. I just think like a lot of stuff seems taboo in today's world, or people are more, I don't know if what we did was taboo. People are dating on the internet now. we used to meet girls when we were single, just go hang out at the bar, and we'd run into one, and some guys would just marry the first girl that ran into them at a bar. And that was their whole life. They didn't really source it out. And a lot of them are not with that wife anymore, you know?
It's kind of crass, but I used to say, just because you got laid 2 days in a row doesn't mean that you're in love. It means you got laid 2 days in a row. That's all it means. Doesn't mean she's the one.
That was sage advice. I mean, I don't know if the cult members and the hustlers and pimps, con men and drug dealers and used television salespeople were there when you first joined the Navy, but they were there when I got there.
Oh,
waiting for you to walk off the base. You know,
mile of cars. At 26% interest. That's a good rate. Oh wow. Or charge rent to own stuff. Going to charge you twice what it would, and you had to go get an allotment, and to make sure that you paid 3 times for this VCR or stereo equipment than it was worth. Because this is the only place you get credit, and that's E3. Credit E1 and up. When I first came in, you couldn't get credit. I shouldn't say that. You couldn't, if you were not an E5 or above, no reputable business would even talk to you about a loan. You had to have several years in and be an E5 or above. There was still predatory lending, but it wasn't quite like it is now with this, pay check for cash or whatever the hell they do. But anyway, so if anybody, E4 or below probably had some kind of loan or a car loan or something, you just knew they were getting screwed because no reputable business would deal with them. No bank.
Yeah, they were getting pounded. Their whole check would be gone.
They couldn't even go to the Navy. Yeah. So if you want your car break, you need a new car and all you have is $500, now you go down and you could put $500 at least on a decent used car or something. But back then, you didn't have $500. The car might be $500 and you're financing that. And you're going to pay, $1,000 for a $500 car over a year and a half period. The car is already scrapped. You're still paying for it. That's just the way it was. It was very predatory.
It was interesting because I brought that up because I had a bunch of Scientologists, pretty girls in a car. Come on, we want to go to a meeting with you. We're like, wow, I wish you really did want to go hang out, but I understand this meeting, something's going to transpire. No, thank you. And they were just keep hitting on us all the way walking out of the front gate of Alameda, walking to downtown by Johnny B. Goods. And we're like, shit, man, look at this craziness. And then, I watched The Last Detail just to kind of stay in that Navy vibe. And I think that movie really captures the dark, grim, but lifestyle Navy of like a E6 of back in the 70s, right? And there were 2 brig chasers, but even when they take the guy out on the town, they run into a cult out there too. And it's all these people that do this tantric humming or something. So there's a lot of that back then, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that? Did that ever happen to you? Did you ever get pulled into some kind of circus flute tent kind of thing?
No. No, I didn't even, I don't even think I made it to the chapel on the ship at all, ever. But anyway.
What about, here's a good one.
How
you talk about all the mistakes the youthful ones make back in our day, but it was funny because I would see it, and it wasn't necessarily our shipmates, but just guys from the ship. They would take things out of convenience, right? So, like in San Diego, at the Enlisted Man's Club, there were some of the largest women I've ever seen in my life. And all these handsome young guys, fit, good-looking guys, are really trying hard to hit on them, and they're drunk off their ass. And I'm like, why don't you just walk off the base? There's plenty of beautiful girls in San Diego.
Well, and the thing is, and if you're at the club in San Diego on the base, you didn't have to hit on them. You just had to, have a pulse. You just had to wait.
Oh, yeah. But these were rather undesirable. I mean, I walked in with sober eyes. I'm like, don't turn the lights on. The vampires will scatter to the corner. I was like, I'm leaving. I'm going off the base. I mean, not the good club that they filmed Top Gun at. over by all the A schools. I'm talking like over by the pier, over by all the ships.
Scuttlebutt.
Yeah, Scuttlebutt.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah, the E3 and below club or E5 and below club or something. Yeah, they had Scuttlebutt, and they had the AC Doocy across the street, which our staff NCO club, whatever it was probably E5, E6 club. And then of course you had the Chiefs club. Yeah, or it was Petty Officer Club, I think. Yeah, the E1 to E3 club on the base, and then the Petty Officer Club across the street over the side of the trolley tracks, and then on that base at the other end you had the Chiefs Club, and then you used to be able to come, because on the Chiefs Club they could lock the gate so that people could come and go from the Chiefs Club from out in town, so you didn't even have to come through the gate. And the PO Club was that way too. You could walk right into the PO Club from out in town, so anybody could walk in there.
Oh, so they could have a better selection of women, I guess.
I think you probably still have to...
More accessible.
Yeah, it still doesn't have some kind of dependent ID card or something to be in there, or military ID card, but it was just easy access, yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I used to go to the Trophy Lounge in San Diego. I went there with my fine fellow SM1, rest in peace, SM1 Stroud. And I watched him chat up a couple of nice Filipino ladies. And then I met a gal there, and that worked out well. But the Trophy Lounge, I just thought about it because they posted a picture of it on one of the Salty Dogs things on Facebook. They were, hey, who remembers the Trophy Lounge? I'm like, oh, I remember leaving that place with this beautiful Latina girl that I met and 8 other people jammed into a Datsun B210. And if you know what that looks like, it's slightly bigger than the small version of the old Honda Civics they used to have in the early 80s.
That size of a Celica.
Yeah, it's like 8 people in a Celica. It just isn't meant to be, but that was transportation. Good times. But the Trophy Lounge.
Yeah.
So when do you are you planning to go back to visit Oregon or anything like that anytime soon?
Oh yeah, I'll probably go back this summer at some point. Then we'll be looking for a job here in about a year. I'll be trying to find someplace I can go back to Everett, Washington if I want to, and I have a guaranteed position there, but I'll try to find something else. I don't know what it's going to be like.
What about San Diego, or is it just the price point's ridiculous?
No, that wouldn't bother me either. I would go there. I was never stationed it was kind of funny, 23 years in the Navy, and I was never stationed in San Diego or Norfolk, two of the biggest ports in the Navy, and I was never stationed. I was there for months at a time on the post.
Well, it's funny. I wasn't ever stationed there either, but you and I just described it like we were locals.
Well,
it's funny how quick you can acclimate yourself to somewhere like that, right?
Well, when you spend a lot of time on foot, you get to know, we didn't have, and you couldn't Google places. You had to know where they were. So you go up here and you turn right and you go down the street, and then here you go. Yeah, I mean, I could probably get off I'd probably go to Chinhae, Korea, and find my way to Donna's greenhouse, whatever the hell the tavern out town was. I could probably figure that out right now. And I haven't been there for 20 years. Texas
Street. Yeah, get a whole bunch of Nikes over there.
Yeah.
So
don't get them wet. Who's going to come apart?
That was funny. When we were over there in Korea after, I think, Desert Storm, or I forget. No, yeah, I think it was. It might have been. I was there with Stroud, and he was hammered, and a Russian sailor was there. This is back in the Cold War, and that guy was drunk. He was shitty, and he was trying to start a fight. And I'm there, and he's like, "You American boy," calling me American boy. I'm like, yeah, I'm a big American boy. Throw you right out that window. You know what I mean? I'm just talking shit to him. And Stroud's over there getting all, damn it, that's an American man. This guy had all these gold teeth and so forth.
He
looked like a pirate.
Were they gold or were they brass or copper or something?
They might have been brass or something. I'm not sure. I mean, the dental standards were not that high.
They did a lot of. I remember when I was in Vladivostok, they just had a lot of copper teeth, metal-looking teeth. You have little caps on everything.
I had my friend bring me back one of the Russian sailor shirts. One of my Russian friends, because he runs a MMA website over there in Russia. I met him on Facebook, and we did some MMA business together, helping fighters fight over there and stuff. But yeah, Russia, I might be going there, man. Who knows? Ought to be interesting. My wife, we have to go settle some family affairs up in Siberia. Hopefully not in the winter, you know?
Is it ever not winter? I don't know.
There's a time when it's not, but yeah, by our standards, probably. But you know, we were talking about the Navy stuff, and you know, I'd like to get some of your underlings on here more. I mean, having Krause and having what's his name, the BM3, can't think of his Lopez, yeah. Those were two of your like little sea babies.
No, they were just,
pretty much.
I don't know if they were mine, but they were just we were just all there together. Yeah, I'd like to hear Richie Rich or Cedillo or somebody, you know, Isaac Cedillo.
Yeah,
Cockroach, Iggy Pop, Iggy Nova, Ignacio
Nova. Oh my. Nova was my buddy, man. We used to hang out. I heard he was a real wild man at times, but yeah.
Oh gosh,
me and Mr. Nova, man, I kept him from getting his ass beat by a bunch of Canadian hockey players one day up in Victoria. He's like, I can take him. I'm like, no, these guys fight every day. You might throw a punch at a bar every other 7 months. This is different.
And
you know,
you're in Canada. They know who you are. You don't look like everybody else up here. You know, right. You're not going to hide the crowd.
Now these guys are like all smiling. You ready to go? And they know how to throw fists because hockey players fight, man. They're enforcers. They fight. Yeah. It's no joke. Getting busted teeth out is a novelty to you. To them, it's a daily occurrence.
Where were we?
And they're, you know, I mean, how trained are you in it, right? I mean, it's different. So that was interesting. That was at some club over there. Nova was just a wild man. I'd go out drinking with him, man. I had some crazy ass times. So that was one of your good buddies?
So, Nova, it was Nova, Yakum and myself, and we were in, I want to say it was the Firehouse, but I don't think it was. It might have been, it was over by Dolly's Tavern, which might have been Dolly's Pump Room, Dolly's Tavern, and the Bosun Locker were all, and Mindy's Bosun Locker or something, were all kind of in the same area off of Magsaysay. And Yakum and I are sitting there. We had these rules, like if you're going to fight, you know, you got to do all the damage you can do in 30 seconds and then run. And then, you know, get right, and then get out of there and get on to the next place, you know. And I think this was daytime, because that could happen. And Nova and I are sitting there. Yakum's at the end of the bar, and some guy says something to Nova or does something, and I'm just looking at Nova, and it's like, okay, it's on. And I don't even remember what started it. You know, who knows? So Nova just lays this guy out. You know, I think he grabbed a bottle and smacked him in the head or something. And we throw down with two or three of the guys. And then, so, you know, the requisite 30 seconds is up. We're leaving. You know, we're going out. Yeah. And Yakum, he's with us, but he's sitting at I don't know if there are no seats at the bar or whatever. He's kind of more towards the door. So Yakum, I don't know if he got involved in the fight or not, but he got up to leave, and somebody either hit him with a chair or they threw a chair at his feet or something, and he stumbles, and Yakum is stuck in the bar, and he has nothing to do with what's going on, but I think he ended up in jail. You know, Station Bravo, they called it down there. You know, he ended up, but he was able to convince them that, you know, he had no idea who we were or anything, and he was just, you know, getting up to get out of the bar because he didn't want to be involved in whatever it was, and he you know, talked a good. So I guess he didn't actually go to jail, but you know, he was able to convince the local police and the shore patrol that, you know, he wasn't involved. I mean, worse that would have happened was he would have got back to the ship and said he was, you know, didn't do anything, and he would have to stay the night on the ship or something. But yeah, that was funny. You know, Nova. I remember Nova just like, it's on, okay, and we just followed through. I used to get a lot of little scraps like that. Randy Rainey, Nova, Davy Jones. We used to get little scraps all the time. It just was what it was.
Yeah. You just had to let all that extra testosterone out, but that might have been Mama Lita's, because I was roommates and it was right on McSci-Sci, and I was roommates with Yakum.
This is, you go up to like where the Brown Fox was and turn left and go down a side street. And there were three or four little bars down there. If you kept going on that street, you would have come out at Rizal down in the jungle at the other end.
Okay, so yeah, that's a different place. But
good.
But ironically, he lived with me. He lived with me when we were dry docked there. Me and Yakum were roommates. Mm-hmm. What a weird mix. I'd be hanging out with guys from deck, BTs. I didn't care. They were just dudes. Yeah. We were just hanging out. It's like, hey, hanging out with these guys, I get to meet more ladies. This guy, I don't. Let's see who's cool. Who speaks out of turn, who barfs on himself halfway through the night, you know? you start sorting out your football team, I guess. But he was good. And then I also hung out with him one time in Sacramento, and he drove me in that tiny little friggin' nugget of a car. The Pontiac?
Pontiac Le Mans. Yep. Yeah, I think we talked about that before. That was Soner's car. I think it was Roger's car.
We drove up. We met another guy that lived in Fairfield that was in deck with you guys. He was married. Hung out with him. I think we were crashing at his house, but then we drove up to Sacramento. We go to a nightclub, and it's me and like 3 or 4 other guys. And we're the only white guys in the club, and the Mexican and the black guys all get in fights with each other, and they just leave us alone, and they're beating the crap out of each other all around us. They're not throwing any fists at us. They're like, this is our thing. And I'm like, interesting. That was the most bizarre, interesting fight thing I had ever seen. It was a nightclub next to a mall.
Yeah, go ahead.
We went back to the show. Go ahead, guys. But Perkins from deck, that was another guy. Do you remember him much? John Perkins?
Yeah.
Strong guy?
Yep.
Louisiana boy? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of my really good friends.
Blonde-haired kid, pretty good name, yeah.
Yeah. And he would do proximity suit with me on the flight deck. I kind of asked for that, and the officers approved it. But then who else was there that I hung out with? Well, I don't know if you knew Bliss. Of course you'd know Bliss if you knew him from the kitchen, and he was down there in supply.
Yeah.
Sonny Bliss.
Yeah, he wasn't very tall, was he?
No.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
He liked
little mustache.
Yeah. Real East Coast. Kind of looked, to me, he looked a lot like Matt Dillon, the actor guy. Different version. And then we were buddies. And then Durst, who was a BT. Did you know Durst?
Sounds familiar.
Tall Philadelphia kid, tall, black hair, good looking guy. They were basically like my bait to get girls. They were my magnets. You know, I'm like, okay, you work out. You're cool. Okay, cool. I'll have better luck with this team. That's what I was picking my A team. Actually, always did better by myself, but I liked hanging out with my buddies. You know, and that's the guys I knew from deck. Of course, Gainey, he used to work for you too, right?
Yeah, I worked with Gainey. Yep.
Gainey was strong.
You know,
he ended up being a signalman. Go ahead.
I pick up a lot of names and I try to figure out how, you know, I was there for almost 5 years. So there was a lot of clicks that come and go, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, was he there when I got there? Because there was quite a turnover after the World Cruise. A lot of people had stayed just for that, and then they all left right after we got off of that. And then there was a new influx of people. I remember, I think the kid's name was Gusler, or something like that, little blonde-haired kid. And I remember he was the first guy that was on the ship that I'd ever known that was in the Navy that was born in 1970. I was like, you're kidding me. You were born in 1970? You know, and this is, you know, late 80s, I'm thinking, or, you know, 87, 88. I'm just thinking, my God, how old am I at this point? I'm only 6 years older than he is. But, you know, it just seemed like it was such a big number. Oh, my God, you were born in 1970. Chris Gusler.
I was born in...
He was nothing.
Good. Gusler.
Chris Gusler, he was this a good kid, but just always nickel and dime trouble. You know, late for this, late for that kind of thing. But good kid. You know, I don't know why he stayed. You know, I'm trying to think of the guys that came through.
You didn't forget Gauss.
Oh, no. No. Gauss was hard to figure out. He's a nut that I never did crack. I never figured him out. He's just, you know, never knew what was going on, and he'd just stare at you. What do you think? What are you talking about? And he'd start laughing.
He's like, you're going to mess with me. I'm going to mess with you back and just mess with you. But he's grown up to be a really good family man. You know, he's done well. I'm happy for him.
Well, I think he was pretty cerebral back then. You know, he'd do something wrong and you'd yell at him and he would look at you and And he would laugh. And I'd say, what the hell are you laughing at? Oh, nothing. This is something I thought about that happened last week.
Just take you off your mark.
Like,
just total misdirection.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you, Boats. I'm laughing at something that happened last week. Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I knew a lot of guys in deck. I mean, I did know Sip, and I did know because I mess cooked with him. You know, I knew King, who became a senior chief as well, and mess cooked with him too. And who else was? Well, I knew Rich, and I knew Greer, who I see a lot still today. And then there was like
Greer was a DC man, I think.
He was a DC man, yeah.
Yeah.
He had all the style and all the swag, and he still does.
Yeah.
And who else was there? Did you know Sharp, DC1 Sharp?
Yes. Yeah. I ended up working with him either on one of the carrier tours later or over in Japan. Someplace I worked with him again after he made chief. I think it was in Japan.
Okay.
I worked with him someplace else.
I know he bought a place out here in Danville right down the street from me, which has gone and become an exclusive area. I don't know if he still lived around here, but he was like, yeah, we play volleyball. He was into like the yuppie culture off the ship. That was kind of his gig.
You know what? It might have been
the
the carrier came from the Bay Area, and he might have still had his place back there.
Well, that's the thing too. Like Chief Hill supposedly was on the Mount Hood like 3 or 4 times because he lived in Vallejo and he wanted to stay near home.
Well, at the end, the Mount Hood was the only ship left.
Oh, no shit. He was on there long past me. I'm out of the Navy.
Yeah.
He was there before me, on there again, and then on there after me. I'm like, damn, how's Chief Hill keep doing that? Staying with his one ship, you know?
Yeah, it was the only.
I think he was from New York.
It was the only ship left in the Bay Area for a long time. And then it finally went up to Permanent. I think it got decommed after it got up there. Yeah, that's how Yaku ended up on his second tour on there, was because it was the only ship left in the Bay Area. After I think it was at the Travis Air Force Base or something. As security, and then he went back to the Mount Hood again. And then ended up in the Northwest. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still up there. You guys still in touch, you and Yakum?
We were before I came over here, because we worked together back there. He was in the Bremerton office, and I was in the Everett office for port operations. And he's still there, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow.
So if I end up back there again, I'll work with him. I mean, like right now, if I need something, if I need a message or a publication or something, or some information or SOP, I'll just get a hold of him, ask him to send me whatever they have. Because they're, as far as the CNIC world, the Northwest is much more advanced than the world that I'm in over here. Structurally, over here is much more operational and much more high speed, but not a lot of SOPs like that to solidify processes and structure things over here. So I've been working on that for a couple of years, and so it's a good reach back support with Kevin Yakum and some other guys at the last place. But yeah,
are they implementing ERPs to you guys, like? You know, like software that manages everything on sensors and accountability for the whole system, like where you can, because stuff used to just get lost in the mail, lost at sea, lost in a sea bag. I could just see putting this automation into the Navy, something I'm familiar with because of what my wife's into.
Not that I don't know if that I'm involved in,
no?
But you just save a lot of data though. We collect data like you would not believe. You know.
So you work with data scientists or no?
No, if we do, if we want to try to get a new product or new project out, we would just pay a contractor to tell them this is what we think we want, put them on a year contract, tell them to gather all the information at the end of the year, give us what you have. You know.
Okay. Well, just give one of those contracts to my wife. She's a data scientist. I'll come over there and I'll eat some pizza with you. Yeah. Then you're like, damn it, you and your podcast, you have to leave.
Most of them.
It's getting too close for comfort.
Most of it's all done out of DC. We don't actually have them over here. There's no over here. Just
feed
information.
It's all in the data.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Right?
that's how you know how you're doing. That's how you know how you're going to get better, and that's how you know if you're ready for something different to happen.
Well, that's kind of why I had her go into it. One of her teachers, I know this is the podcast, but it's just interesting food for thought. One of her professors did some research, did a big data, assessment for the Coast Guard on their rescue boats and how many boats are at each pier and how many stations have them and what's the average response time. And they saved them like $1.8 million just by looking at how they were burning the fuel and how they were hitting it, and then also increased their more safe vessels and so forth. Because some were undermanned, some were overmanned, and you had to take all the data to do the math of like what is cycle in time and their historical data of need for rescues and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So it was interesting. So that's what you could use with data. You could use that in your
we do
stuff.
We do use that over here for logistics, getting parts in, supplies, repair boats and things. And the difficulty we have over here though is that all of my bases, I have them in Greece, Spain, Bahrain, and Italy. So all the bases I work with. Supply chain is kind of okay, but it takes, going through supply system takes a long, long time if you're going through, NSNs and through the Navy stock system and getting stuff off a shelf in Mechanicsburg or something. But most of our stuff it's urgent. If this boat is broken, I need it fixed, so I have to FedEx a part overnight. Well, or find one off the shelf here locally, which, is common. It's all maritime stuff. So, engine parts are engine parts, but it's just difficult. All of the countries I work with all have different customs. They all have different, requirements, different
timelines and computer systems.
You could, if we mailed the same part to 5 bases on the same day from Florida, one might show up in 2 days in Italy, 4 days in Greece, and in Bahrain it's sitting in customs and you got to come over and prove that you need it, and you couldn't have purchased it inside the country. Why are you shipping parts in when we have a Yamaha dealer here? It's just crazy, the logistics. But that keeps the job interesting.
Do they still have a high school on the base in Naples?
Yes. Yep. High school, all the way up. A lot of folks send their kids out in town for school at the lower levels, but it's just probably convenient.
A Zelo.
Just kind of convenience, close to the house and things like that. But they have a high school.
Yeah, I used to play them in football. That's weird. You're next to one of the football teams I used to play against. How strange.
Just put a new saddle in the field.
Kearney Park. Over at Kearney Park.
Oh, yeah. You're to camp in, a golf course, and it's good.
I saw that. That's why I got to come to Italy, because my ID card still works there, and you told me about that, because all the bases there, I know Italy like the back of my hand. I get a lot of hookups. I could stay there for free practically. I just got to do it. Got to do it and can stop talking about it.
I don't think we talked much about the ships this podcast, did we?
No, it doesn't matter. We're catching up. But the people loved your first podcast that they're like, what else is Ziemer into? What's his hobbies?
Yeah.
Does he like to watch movies about gladiators? What's he into, man? I'm kidding. But it's okay. This is for the Mount Hood. You have a lot of friends and a lot of people that don't hear from you that want to hear from you. And I think that's where this really comes into it. I mean,
it has.
Some of my big. Go ahead.
It has opened up a lot of the Facebook friend requests and message requests and stuff like that. There's a lot of that going on.
Oh, you start getting hit.
Oh yeah. Well,
you started getting hit up.
That actually started mostly back with the reunion you guys did last summer.
Oh yeah, and then this just added a few more little bits and pieces. I mean, people are listening to you. I just looked at my analytics. Someone was checking out BM1 Ziemer in Sweden, listening to you on. Well, now the podcast is on one of those streaming services. I said what it was the other day. I'll have to think about it because it's late at night. So I'm like, Spotify. Yeah, we're on Spotify now. AEC Stories. But, anybody listening, like us, love us, sign up. Please write us a review on iTunes. I don't know why I'm pushing iTunes anymore. It may go away and not be the most popular thing. I think all the famous podcasts have been promoting it as the place to be. But, we used to have Blockbuster. Now we have Netflix, and who knows what's next, right?
I'm trying to think of who would
be Spotify.
I'm trying to think who would be in Sweden. I know that, I've talked about podcasts with a few coworkers here, and maybe one of them was sitting up there and had an hour to kill at a hotel. And
Got a bunch of guys from France. That's a bunch of guys from.
That's what I'll do.
Go ahead.
When I travel, I'll just make sure I listen to a podcast from you in every country I go to, and then you'll be just all over the world. Yeah, I got somebody in Bahrain listening. I got somebody in Greece listening. I got somebody in Croatia listening.
I think I do have a Croatian one, and I do have one from Bahrain, and I was thinking if it was you because, like, if it's only one or two, but I don't think you're in Great Britain or Australia or China or
not today.
Africa listening to him.
Not today. North Africa, maybe.
Been to Tanzania? Been to Tanzania lately?
No. Djibouti.
You're like in Djibouti. There you go. That could have been you. If you were in Djibouti, that was you, bro. Oh my God! I'm like tracking you on the podcast map.
No.
I can't give up that data. Djibouti, that was you. Were you part of that graybeard thing? I read the article on that.
No.
After the ships crashed.
No.
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 I read like the article. They're like, we're calling on the graybeards. We're like,
no.
Yeah, you better ask your dad what to do.
No, that's just ridiculous. It's just poor seamanship. It's just not paying attention, not taking things as serious as they should.
Isn't it the lack of accountability? That's probably what it is, you think? I mean,
both times they were inside of land, or very close to land, and they should have had modified watches.
Yeah. And they weren't like in some deep fog from San Francisco Harbor, late night, blackout night. You know what I mean? No stars.
Yes.
And just using the horns. Bronk, bronk. It wasn't in that mode. This was like high visibility comparatively.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no such thing as Chief Hill said, there's no such thing as a good excuse.
Yeah. They weren't in a storm. They weren't in low vis. It was just, yeah. No.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Well, I've learned a lot about this stuff, and I think people are just going to enjoy listening to this, and you'll be surprised. You know who my most listened to podcasts? Are ones like this. The ones, the Sailor Beware episodes. So if I just say Sailor Beware on this podcast, it'll get like 3 times more listens than anything else.
Yeah, but it's false.
The ones that I do with...
it's false advertising.
Huh?
It's false advertising. There's nothing to beware of.
Well, don't get in a bar fight with Ziemer, and don't join the Navy and play video games.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 secret messages of this whole podcast, I guess. That's good enough content. People want to hear a real uncut, straight from the hip conversation. If you show up like, "Hi, I'm Geraldo Rivera. Today we're reporting on the Mount Hood." I mean, that's just too much. People want to hear a guy that'll screw up once in a while, knock his beer over in his table or whatever he's doing.
That happens.
But yeah, as a senior chief, let me ask you one more thing to Navy out, level off this thing with some naval content.
Mm-hmm.
A senior chief is an E8, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're in that type of lifestyle, you've worked hard. I mean, how many years into your career before you can hit senior chief usually on an average?
I think it's 16 to 20. I think it was, I think it was the numbers were, chief was like 12 to 16, senior chief was 16 to 20, and master chief was 20 to 24. It was kind of the notional thing. There wasn't any real time frame. I was able to make chief in just under 10, and then I made senior chief in 13. And then I had almost 10 years as senior chief for punching out.
I mean, at that point, you just stopped being in the hunt for the extra E9.
Oh no!
No.
I was always looking forward to that, and I figured it would just come, and it didn't. And I know that there were things I could have done to make it more attainable. Different duty stations. I kind of homesteaded after I made senior chief. I stayed in the Northwest and just bounced from ship to ship up there. And at that point, I was a single father and had a lot of support from my family, taking care of my kids and things. So it kind of, I didn't, go down to San Diego and get on a big cruiser or do, didn't forward deploy anymore and go take over overseas ships at that point. Things that probably would have helped me get a promotion, but I had a good career, met a lot of good people, still getting paid for it.
You said that was the sweet spot, though. You're getting paid really well, and you're living. Everything else is like you've been upgraded. You're in the upgraded class. You're in business class now, right?
Oh,
after being in this, pretty much.
Yeah, much smaller group of people with more food, nicer stuff. TV, VCR, and you weren't 108. Well, on the carrier, you were still in 100-person berthing, but on the smaller ships, you had much smaller quarters and a lot less people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nice.
That's that would have been interesting to experience. It's just talking to you who made a life out of it, and then you're able to go get a good civilian job and have a retirement. I mean, I think you did pretty well. There's a lot of people that get out and did the hit or miss of being an entrepreneur, and they were rich for a couple of years and now they're not. I mean, I think overall it averages out, right?
I don't envy the stress of a self-employed person, and I like the steady paycheck. Knowing hit or miss. Jobs pan out, jobs don't pan out. I like the appeal of a steady paycheck. That way you create your own savings and you're not totally reliant on markets and things like that.
You can budget for sure. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. But we definitely get to hang out when you're up here. Maybe take a road trip and go visit good old Ed Johnson.
Yeah, Vegas or outside of Vegas somewhere.
King of Vegas. Yeah, we'll go visit King of the Sea. I thought I named his. I really liked the title I came up with for his podcast, The Pure Salt, and I think that resonated with a lot of people in all the different Navy groups. But I've crossed over. I've done some other ships. I wanted to diversify, but we want to hear more of you Mount Hoodlums, and Ziemer's going to make you do EMI if you don't get back on the podcast wagon, because your story needs to be there. You'll be 60, 70 years old going, shit, I should have done a podcast. He invited me 3 times, and it was really important that I go out and play Frisbee golf that day, but now my history is lost. You know what I mean?
I had a really good story, and that guy was full of shit. He didn't know what he was talking about.
Signalman. They did not rule the ship. What was he saying? That's Signalman saying that he was working on the engine, and I don't get his podcast. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, brother, and I hope you have a great New Year's.
I think we will.
And
have some people over.
Those of you listening, this is a couple of guys. I'm doing this at midnight. He's doing it over in Italy, in Naples, Italy, at 9 a.m. About to eat a bunch of good Italian food and just chill and watch the ocean. And weather's probably pretty nice, isn't it?
It'll be 60 and sunny today. Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
It's usually pretty warm in southern Italy. It's like SoCal. Yeah. Well, you have a great one, my friend, and thank you for coming on. And I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.